We have been using WebLogic admin console from so many years now that we are very used to it. We know where different parameters are and so on. But then if you try to search for the same parameter on a WebLogic remote console, you may not find it in the same place. And moreover, you have a tree structure and there are different options scattered around everywhere. But that's not the case. Now, it is very important for you to understand how WebLogic Remote Console is designed so that it will get easy for you to find different parameters. Now, before I go deeper into it, I would like to talk about WebLogic Server MBeans. Now, WebLogic Server exposes MBeans, which can be used to manage, monitor, or configure various WebLogic server resources, right? And this is a WebLogic Server MBean reference page. Now, all the different MBeans that are there are listed in this document. There are mainly two types of MBeans. One is a configuration MBean, another one is a runtime MBean. Now, a configuration MBean is where you make changes to an MBean so that it reflects on the particular WebLogic server resource. If you want to make some changes to a resource, you use the configuration MBean. Now, a runtime MBean is mainly used to monitor a particular resource. This gives you runtime information of a particular WebLogic resource, and you can use that to monitor, right? Now, there is another important kind of MBean, which is called as a security MBean, wherein these MBeans have to be protected. You can protect it using roles, policies, and so on. So those are defined in the security MBeans. Now, let's have a look at this WebLogic Remote Console. I told you there are two main types. One is the configuration MBean, runtime, other one is a runtime MBean, and then the security MBean. Now, these two together form the configuration MBean, right? And this is the runtime MBean for monitoring. And this is the security data tree, which is a security MBean. Right now, it makes more sense why we have these four different trees. Now, whenever you want to make any change to a particular MBean, what WebLogic does is you make a change and then the change is there in a config.xml file inside the pending folder. Now, after you activate changes or after you commit the changes in the shopping cart, it gets added to the actual config.xml file. So this is a place wherein you make changes, you edit changes and then you commit it. Now, after it is committed, now you view it in the configuration view tree. It makes sense, right? So these two have all the configuration MBeans that we have and any runtime information you want to find. For example, you want to know the status of a server or anything else, then this is where you go. You go to the monitoring tree, which talks about the runtime information of it. And you want to do some security stuff like roles, policies, users, and so on. So you go here into the security data tree. Now, all of a sudden, it makes more sense, right? Now, let me talk about the old admin console. Now, here what happened is, let's say we'll go to servers, admin server, or even the service page, right? So here you see the list of servers. You also see the runtime information about it, right? So everything was mixed up. So it's just two different styles. I would not say one is better than the other, but it's just that in admin console, everything was pulled together. All MBeans were used together and a particular format and was displayed so that it'll be easy for you to use. But now in the remote console, we kind of try to adhere with what is there in the MBean page, resource page, and we try to keep it as it is. We keep the configuration MBeans inside the view and config tree, and we keep the runtime MBeans in the monitoring tree and security MBeans in the security data tree, right? Okay, now let me take an example. When I go to admin server, I see the different options here, right? I see listen port enable, listen address, listen port, and so on. Now let's go to the MBean, and this is a configuration MBean because it's a change that you make. It's not a runtime thing. So domain configuration MBean. Now let's go to the server MBean, right? So attributes. So here you can see that there is listen port enabled, and so on. It makes sense, right? So this is what you see here. Now it's the same even in the remote console. Let's go to the edit tree for now. Uh, Environment, servers, admin server. See, these are the different options: listen address, listen port enabled, and so on. Now, let's go back to the admin console. Uh, you might have used the stuck thread max time parameter earlier, right? So what it does is you can set the number of seconds after which a thread is marked as stuck. Now, if you have a thread which is running for a long time and it stays there for 600 seconds, then WebLogic server marks it as a stuck thread. Now, if you have a thread which you know that it will take around 800 seconds to complete, then there is no point in having it 600 here, right? So what you do is you change the stuck thread max time to say 800, right? So in your WebLogic admin console, what you used to do is go to the service configuration tuning, and then you had an option here to change this. Now, let's try to see the same thing over here in the WebLogic Remote Console. So there is no tuning option here. Maybe let me see in the advanced. No, okay, there is a tuning here. But then where is the stuck thread max time parameter? I don't see it. Maybe here, show advanced fields. I still don't see it here. Now, the first thing I have to do is I have to go to uh, this reference page for mbeans and see if there is a stuck thread max time parameter. Oh, it's here. There is a stuck thread max time parameter. Then why is it not displayed in the remote console? So let's have a look at this. Because it's deprecated. Now, what they say is stuck thread max time parameter has been deprecated from WebLogic 9. Okay, and now it is moved to server failure trigger mbean. So let's go to this particular mbean, server failure trigger mbean here. Okay, and then let's go to attributes. Now let's see if there is a max stuck thread time here. Yes, it is there. So there is a max stuck thread time here. Let's go back to the remote console. Now admin server, go to server failure trigger. Now try to create a trigger and then you see that max stuck thread time here, right? It makes sense because WebLogic Remote Console, it follows everything that is documented in the mbean reference page, right? So all of a sudden, this makes more sense, right? This say because you have somewhere you have a reference wherein you can go ahead and you can look up a particular tree and you can find a particular parameter. But here in the traditional WebLogic admin console, everything was mixed up. As long as you have used it 100 times, it is impossible for you to find a particular parameter, right? So all of a sudden, this makes more sense and this makes it easy. It's just a matter of getting used to it. So that's it on this session. Thank you.